Welcome to TWitWoW, the best wrestling podcast made for wrestling fans, by wrestling fans, on the web today. I'm the voice of a generation, John. That's my cohort and commentary, Ashton. And this is our first ever catch-up commentary. Brother, how you feeling about it?
Oh, I'm stoked. I'm not just stoked about doing this. I'm stoked about getting to hear your intro for the first time in months.
I know, it feels like forever, and it's so good to be back. My velvety vocal cords easing you all in to what's sure to be another fantastic TWitWoW commentary. So, brother, why don't you explain to our beauteous audience what's happening today?
Well, I mean, we are currently planning on doing a full-blown catch-up on everything WWE related that's happened since our last SmackDown live reaction, which was on the 13th, I believe. So we're going to make an effort to make sure that we catch up on Raw, SmackDown, 205 Live, NXT UK, and NXT. That's all the WWE content that I'm aware of. We're not counting main event because it's non-canon, basically. So we're going to try and catch up on all that stuff. And so really what we're going to do here, yeah, Alex, yeah, thank you. We aren't really going to be able to do Heat of the Night because there's just too much to remember exactly what our problems were. But we will, at the end, after we're done recapping everything, we will do high spots and low shots. Just because that's kind of a TWitWoW tradition and I want to try and keep it alive. So we'll try and pick who we think has had the best couple of weeks and who we think has had the worst couple of weeks. So that is in store for you guys. And I think it's time for us to just get into it. So what do you say, man?
Let's do it, brother.
All right, so we're going to kind of do things a little bit strange order-wise because we have 2 episodes of Raw, 2 episodes of SmackDown, but then we have 3 episodes of 205, really 2. 3 episodes of NXT UK and 3 episodes of NXT. But here's the thing. We live reacted to every episode of NXT over this time period. So you pretty much know how we feel about a lot of that stuff. We will recap some stuff. We'll give our feelings on some stuff NXT related. But what we're really going to do is kind of build this like a pyramid. We're going to do the stuff that we have the most to cover first, the stuff that we have been the least in touch with first, and work our way kind of towards the stuff that we have the least to cover. So we're going to go from the stuff that we have 3 shows to cover to the stuff that we have 2 shows to cover. And we'll finish with NXT because NXT, we don't really have to cover anything because if you want to know what we think about NXT, you can just go back in our archives and just listen to what we had to say during our live reactions. So what we're going to do is we are going to start with NXT UK because that is the one show that you and I are completely out of touch with, completely unfamiliar with, the show that we have 3 episodes that we have not really watched at all. And all I really want for us to do here is talk about the card for NXT TakeOver Cardiff because that happens tomorrow at, I believe, 2 p.m. Eastern time. So that's happening tomorrow. That's this big deal that they're building up to. They've really gone out of their way to hype up for the show. And we've got, I believe, it's a 5-match card again.
Okay.
So the first one that I know that we're getting is Travis Banks versus Noam Dar.
Should be a fun match. I'm going with the Kiwi Buzzsaw to win that.
Yeah, and we did already kind of do a preview predictions where we just kind of predicted who we thought would win yesterday during our Q&A. I just want to kind of go a little bit more in depth, just kind of give our opinions on each guy and each performer and stuff. So you know I love Travis Banks. I like Noam Dar too. I like both these guys. But historically, every time that I've picked Travis Banks to win a match in NXT UK, it's let me down. So I'm going to pick Noam Dar and hope that I'm wrong.
There you go, man. I totally get that logic.
Then we've got Dave Mastiff versus Joe Coffey. Dave Mastiff is a bigger dude, but he's also like really squat and like bowling ball shaped. And it makes sense then that his finisher is a cannonball, or at least it was back in progress. I don't even know if it still is anymore, honestly. But he's going against Joe Coffey. It seems like Coffey is a bit more of a priority to NXT UK right now. And honestly, he's got a better look. He's probably a little bit better in the ring, at least from what I've seen. So I'm going to go with Coffey to win here. How do you feel, man?
I completely agree with you, man. I think Joe Coffey gets the W here.
Yeah. All right, so then we've got our championship matches. We've got Zach Gibson and James Drake, the grizzled young vets. Then we've got Mark Andrews and Flash Morgan Webster as a team challenging them, as well as Gallus, represented by Mark Coffey and Wolfgang. Now, I just got to tell you, man, I like Zach Gibson, and I kind of like James Drake, and I like them as the tag team champions. I kind of like Mark Andrews. I really couldn't give fewer shits about Flash Morgan Webster or Mark Coffey or Wolfgang. So I have at least somewhat of an emotional connection to 3 out of the 6 guys in this match. But given that one of the teams is 2 of those 3, I've got to go with Gibson and Drake to retain out of sheer hope that they keep the title on the most interesting team in this match.
And once again, I'm in complete agreement with your face, because I also think that Gibson and Drake are going to retain the NXT UK tag titles.
Well, shit, man. I guess I'll take it.
Yeah.
So after that, then, we have got... do you want to do the women's first or the men's first?
We'll do women's first.
Toni Storm defending the NXT UK Women's Championship against Kaylee Ray. I wanted to ask you, man, how do you feel about Kaylee Ray? Are you a fan of Kaylee Ray's?
Here's the thing, man. What I have seen, I've been kind of meh on, but I don't think I've seen enough to form a fully substantive opinion, if I'm truthful. So I'd say what I have seen, it's been good enough, I guess, but it doesn't leave that lasting impression like, oh, I can't wait to see her again, like, Ginny has done with me. In fact, speaking of Ginny, just a quick sidebar, when she challenged for the NXT UK Women's Championship, I actually made time to watch that match because I care about Ginny as a character and as a performer.
Yeah.
Kaylee Ray, she hasn't left that mark on me. And
by the way, can you do me a favor and just get a little closer to your mic? You're a little low.
Oh, I apologize. I thought it was close enough. Yeah, that should be good.
Yeah,
Everybody
much
good?
better, much better.
So yeah, I'm just saying, like, I sought Ginny's title match out, and I can never see me doing that with Kaylee Ray because she just hasn't left the same impression on me that a performer like Ginny has, for instance. So that's kind of where I'm at with Kaylee Ray.
Yeah, all right. Well, I feel like maybe I just haven't seen enough of Kaylee Ray, because I think I've seen like 3 or 4 matches of hers, and I don't think a single match that I've ever seen of hers has really like gripped me and made me care,
Right.
It's unfortunate because I know a lot of people that really like her, and I just want to like her because there are other people that, whose opinions I care about that also really like her, and I just want to kind of see what they see, but I haven't yet. She is a heel here, though, and I don't know if you saw, but she actually brought up, I guess, Toni Storm's daddy issues, talking about her daddy left her when she was a kid because he saw how much of a disappointment she was or whatever.
Right.
Did you see that clip?
I did see that clip. I thought it was a bit much. Honestly, dude, I'm just pleasantly surprised and relieved that they didn't go further, because I honestly thought Kaylee Ray was going to, like, allude to the leaks. The same way that the Usos did with the New Day. Don't get all rated R like your boy Xavier Woods kind of thing.
Yeah.
I'm really glad they didn't go there, because,
Yeah.
I would have just been like, oh, God. But, yeah, it seemed like, to me, it came off as cheap heat. Like you're going, like, really personal, and I don't even really feel like it's earned. Like, I feel like doing personal right would be like the Jericho Punk feud that they had when originally it started with, I'm going after you and your family because you come from a family of addicts and yet you claim to be straight edge. But it's not just that I'm going to go after you with this. I'm going to make you drink. I'm going to make you assimilate with your family's seemingly established culture kind of thing, which I think elevated it beyond being a cheap shot. And it was actually a fabric in the greater narrative framework. This, I just feel like, is just to get some heat on Kaylee Ray and build up some last-minute sympathy for Toni Storm as the defending champion before they go into Cardiff. That's just how I see it in a vacuum.
Yeah. And honestly, because of that kind of being the most prominent clip that I've seen, that makes me believe that Toni has to win this. So she's going to have to retain.
Yes, I completely agree with you 110%.
Because you don't say shit like that to someone and then beat them too. That's like some Triple H going over Booker T type shit.
Yes, exactly, dude. Exactly.
And then we finally get to Walter versus Tyler Bate. I know that these guys have wrestled before for, I want to say, the Progress title at some point a year or two ago. And I just know that Tyler Bate can do a fucking airplane spin with Walter on his shoulders, and that blows my mind. And Tyler Bate's amazing, and I'll be rooting for him, but I don't expect him to win.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you there. I think this match is going to be amazing. I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Bate is a phenomenal talent. Look, putting aside my goofiness and, you know, the Thylar and all that, he is such a fucking prospect. To be that young and that good in ring, I'm telling you, dude, if this guy could really just develop a voice, which I'm giving him a chance to because he's still so young yet, if he could develop a voice and a character that we can get behind, or even if we wouldn't get behind, maybe he'd be a heel. The dude's money, because like his matches are always so entertaining. When they did the what was it? That big like tournament, that big like battle of the brands kind of thing, and I believe it was like
Collision. Was it Collision?
Worlds Collide, right?
Worlds Collide. Yeah.
Worlds Collide. When Adam Cole had that match with Bate, like I felt myself getting emotionally invested. It was one of the rare times that I was rooting against Adam Cole.
Yeah.
Like I adore Tyler Bate, dude. I think he has such a bright future. I don't know if his build and his look lends to that future. I mean, obviously, you know how I feel about his look. That goes without saying. But I'm just talking more about, you know, the powers that be. But I think, yeah, you give this guy a character, he would be running shit. He is so good. And Walter, just to speak about him as NXT UK champion, it seems like such a natural progression from Pete Dunne's seemingly unstoppable reign, that you go from a guy that's unstoppable simply because of the breadth of his reign and who he's beaten in the days he's accumulated, to a guy that's just physically unstoppable and that can probably have the reign to follow suit. So I think Walter's a great face for the NXT UK brand as the champion.
Yeah.
And it's going to be like, when I watch it, because I have every intention of going back and watching this in a vacuum. Like, I don't really care much for
I think this will be one that I want you and me to both watch together.
I agree. I want you there, because I really do believe that this will be a midway entry, because we're actually even more than.
And honestly, dude, we could even watch this tomorrow evening live as it happens, because again, this show starts at 2 p.m. Eastern time. So by the time this match happens, it will be in between Royal Quest and the beginning of All Out for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we could even maybe hammer out a little bit of time tomorrow at like 4:20, 4:15, somewhere around there, to tune into this and see if we can catch Bate versus Walter.
Yeah, I know. I'm totally down for that, because I do think this is going to be an entry for a lot of people's match of the year list. At least I hope it is, because
I hope it is. Yeah.
I love their progress match, and if this is anything like their progress match, it'll be an entry in my match of the year list, so I'll just keep it to me. So, but yeah, I realized with all my rambling, I didn't give you a prediction, but I did say at the beginning, I do agree with you. I do think Walter's going to retain at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So
next time we do one of these, which is probably going to be in about 4 weeks or so like at the very end of September, I would guess, we will cover pretty much, because we aren't covering NXT UK in any other way, we'll probably just cover every episode of NXT UK between this and that commentary. So it'll be like a 4-episode thing, I would guess. And we'll basically be able to cover, you know, talk about what happened at TakeOver Cardiff and the fallout from Cardiff and all the stuff that's been happening since then. So that'll happen in about a month, guys. And now we can move on. And we're going to talk about 205 Live, because 205 Live is the next kind of lower level show. It's an hour-long show. It's not really super promoted by WWE. It happens right after SmackDown, and we have watched a full episode of it already, just in this kind of period that we're going to be talking about, because we watched the Captain's Challenge episode a couple weeks, or last week actually it was. So let's just kind of talk about some of the more basic storylines about 205 Live. So the matches that have happened that, from what I can tell, didn't really have any kind of storyline implications, there's really only been one that I can tell, and that's Akira Tozawa defeating Jack Gallagher, and even then Jack had his foot on the ropes and the ref missed it, so there's a story to tell there. But that's like the most in a vacuum match, from what I can tell, that's happened over this 3-week period.
Okay.
So then we get to the actual stories, and the big stories going on. There are a few. So first of all, there is kind of a minor sub-story going on, where it is Lucha House Party feuding with Arya Daivari and the Singh Bros. And they've had matches. Humberto Carrillo teamed up with Kalisto and Lince Dorado at one point, and they defeated Daivari and the Singh Bros with a Lince Dorado shooting star press on one of the Singh Bros. But Davari, I believe, also defeated one of the members of LHP. I don't remember who it was, with his crazy, like, lariat thing that he does, the headlock lariat or whatever you want to call it. So that's like a little story that's been going on. And obviously that kind of, feeds into Davari as kind of Gulak's secondhand man too. So I guess that kind of implicates Gulak as not liking LHP as well, doesn't it?
Yeah, for sure.
Another kind of underlying story is Tony Nese trying to get back to the world title, and they're kind of teasing a heel turn with him because he's talking about, I'll do whatever it takes to get back to that championship and that kind of stuff. So those are kind of the lower card stories that have been going on. So if you have anything to say about any of those, feel free to go off.
Not really a reaction as of yet. It's really a shame because it does seem like 205 Live tries to be more inspired with their undercard and not have just everything revolve around the Cruiserweight title. I just feel like there's so much wrestling in the present moment that, like, you're almost forced to be selective, you know what I mean? Otherwise, you definitely guarantee a kind of burnout effect. But I definitely see them trying out there, and it sounds good. I hope it's fun for everybody that consumes it.
Yeah, and I appreciate Foster helping us out. It was Kalisto from the LHP that Davari defeated, and he's apparently trying to recruit Lindsay to the dark side, but I really doubt that'll happen.
Yeah, I doubt that as well, but we'll see.
All right. The two bigger stories going on, though, are the kind of the finish of the Lorcan versus Gulak feud, where they had a couple promos on the 14th, or actually it was the 13th. On the 13th, they had a couple promos, and then they had a match where Gulak beat Lorcan with the Gulak. And then the following week was the big Captain Challenge. So we saw that. We saw the Captain's Challenge and the survivors for Team Lorcan, because Team Lorcan did win. And the survivors were Lorcan and Carrillo. And Carrillo was actually the one that got the winning pinfall, although Lorcan did get 2 eliminations in that match to Carrillo's 1. So if you're just going quantitatively, Oni Lorcan was more impressive for his team in that match. If you're going qualitatively, Carrillo got the most important elimination, which is to say the last one, Dude,
I love how they've been building Carrillo. Just focusing on this match because that's where we are right now, and I don't want to jump the gun. This match was so much fun.
Yeah.
I feel like this match did a great job showcasing. I would put Isaiah Swerve Scott in third because I feel like he could have been showcased more, but he still got a nice rub.
Yeah.
And the two best showcase talents easily were Garza and Carrillo.
And that was the winning pinfall, too. Carrillo's winning pinfall was on Garza.
I am actually, and I love Daddy Gulak. I feel like he's deserved to be Cruiserweight champion for a long time, and I'm happy to see him get his run. But if he was to drop the title, especially now that I don't know if WWE is going to try Gable again on SmackDown, I don't know what they're fucking thinking with him, honestly, but that's a separate, point for another time. I would not mind Carrillo being Cruiserweight champion, especially if we get Garza. And
and that does kind of lead us to our second kind of big time main event type story in 205, which is Humberto Carrillo defeated Oni Lorcan in singles this week to become the new #1 contender for the Cruiserweight Championship.
Yes, which I knew that Carrillo beat Oni Lorcan. I should have known that it had contendership implications given everything that Lorcan's been embroiled with.
Yeah, from what I understand, Carrillo wanted it to be a triple threat because Maverick said something about how they both have victories over Gulak, and Carrillo was just like, oh cool, let's do a triple threat, me versus him versus Gulak, and Maverick wasn't happy with that, so he put them against each other where the winner would get Gulak. So that's how Carrillo won contendership.
And you know what though, I gotta say, like, I would have been fine with a triple threat. That sounds like an insane triple threat, but I like that from a kayfabe perspective because it shows that Maverick, to me, has a very deep appreciation for the Cruiserweight title, and he wants it to be like a title that's valued, like there's only one contender at a time.
Yeah, he doesn't want there to be any chance of like a fluke being the champion.
Exactly. Really, I like it because I feel like, and I don't want to hyperbolize here, but just superficially looking at this one instance, it really is like how New Japan treats the IWGP heavyweight title because we've only ever seen one triple threat match for that title in our history, and it was because of fucking Cody meddling his phone.
God, I fucking hate that dude.
God, his face. But yeah, man, I love that's how it happened because that just shows me that the Cruiserweight title on 205 Live as exalted as it should be. And it's like, no, if you earn it, you earn it, because this championship's important. So big ups kayfabe-wise to the character of Maverick as an authority figure and everybody involved, and especially because that makes Carrillo look like that much of a bigger deal. Like, sharing 1/3 of a match isn't nearly as impressive as sharing 1/2 of the match, especially when the championship is on the line. So that's great for him as well. Good shit.
And I really, really hope this match is able to be on the main show, but I think we're all expecting it to be on the Clash of Champions pre-show.
Yeah, unfortunately you're right, because I'd love this to get the main
We
card.
do have 2 weeks to wait, though, so maybe they'll even just do the match on 205. I don't know. You never know with 205, man.
You do never know with 205. I 100% agree with you on that. I would just hope that this would make the main card, because I think Carrillo having that kind of exposure to a main audience would be so good for him and so good for the crowd. You know, because I guarantee you they'd connect with him.
All right.
Yeah.
That about covers 205 Live, and now it's time to get to the long shit.
Let's do it.
Let's get to Raw and SmackDown. We're going to kind of cover Raw and SmackDown as like a nucleus, because the storylines are kind of continuous across both shows at this point because of the wild card shit. They've basically become, you know, one continuous long-running stream of shows. So the thing is, we reacted to Raw and SmackDown 3 weeks ago, which means that we have 2 weeks worth of both shows to cover. So that's a grand total of 10 hours of programming to cover. So rather than trying to cover every single thing that happened on both shows, let's kind of cover the main stories. And I think the biggest story that WWE would have us believe, at least right now, is the Roman Reigns thing. Who attacked Roman Reigns? Who is Roman Reigns' attacker? You know, the first time that we saw Roman Reigns over the course of these 2 episodes was him him beating Dolph Ziggler at the beginning of last week's Raw. And really, as far as the actual story goes, the biggest bit of progression that has happened. I mean, the thing is, 2 weeks ago, I mean, you and I reacted to Murphy versus Roman 3 weeks ago. Not this past Monday, but the previous Monday, on the 19th. Roman, I don't think, had a match, but we got Buddy Murphy versus Bryan, and that kind of whole thing led to, you know, Roman confronted Murphy in the backstage, and then so did Bryan and Rowan, and they did the whole, admit that you're a liar, and he did. And then this week, and last week there was the whole reveal thing of the guy that kind of looked vaguely like Eric Rowan because he was bald and had a big red beard. And now this week it was finally revealed that Rowan was standing by when the scaffolding fell onto Roman. And we didn't see who pushed it, but we did see his presence at the scene of the crime, basically.
Yes. And those developments, the story's actually been better than I thought it would be, especially because of the rub that it's given Murphy, which he more than deserves. And I'm so happy to see that your boy, it even became a running joke on SmackDown Live reactions when that was a thing on this channel, put Buddy Murphy on the show, get Buddy Murphy on the show, et cetera, et cetera. And now
give Buddy Murphy TV time, you cowards!
And now he's in the thick of a program involving 2 of the biggest guys in the company.
Yeah, and arguably the 2 biggest guys on SmackDown aside from the champion.
Yes. Oh, undoubtedly, dude. So it's been great for him. And then when you take Murphy out of the equation, and just looking at it for what it is, it's not bad. It's not the worst Roman Reigns feud that I've experienced, especially when we've got things like, his Rusev feud and stuff like that on there. It's been good. And can I just say, and again, especially with me, I didn't get worked by the PWI 500 because I did acknowledge it's Marky and kayfabe, but I even defended Bryan then. I'm like, Bryan greater than Seth Rollins. I'm really going to be an obnoxious Bryan stan because I have to say again, he's making this fucking feud. His character is so entertaining to watch. Yeah. Like in every capacity. Like, dude, him unmasking like the guy that looks like Rowan, I guess we'll call him Faux Rowan. And Fowen, there you go. Him unmasking Fowen and like you bursting out laughing because you noticed that Bryan didn't want a corpse, and then I went back and I watched it again and I noticed it too. I mean, the dude's a treasure on every level. And then that I missed SmackDown Tuesday because I had company to deal with, but I went back and I watched the clips that mattered to me, and this was obviously one of them. And I love how apoplectic Bryan got at Rowan. I hate liars. Smack him in the face. I hate liars. what are you doing? Why'd you lie? I hate lying. And, he goes out. I didn't know. He didn't. And Roman, not hearing any of it, he just spears Bryan. So, I really like how they're handling this program because Bryan has such a messiah complex. He can't be accountable for any of his wrongs. And I obviously don't think he's telling the truth about not knowing. It would actually be interesting if he didn't know and Rowan just acted on his own thinking that that's what Bryan would have wanted. But I think it's going to be a hell of a match because, again, I've never had a problem with Roman's in-ring work, especially when he works with somebody that's as elite in the ring as Bryan is. I think it's going to be a great pay-per-view match. And, yeah, I've just been really enjoying the story, so kudos to SmackDown. And especially, again, kudos to fucking Bryan for making another program work. There's nothing this man can't do, dude. There's nothing this man can't do. He's fucking incredible.
He really is. I feel like we are always kind of straight-faced and making it clear that we're not trying to be ironic or sarcastic when we say that Daniel Bryan's the best wrestler in the world. And yet, I also always feel like people take it lightly. Like, people aren't fully grasping just how serious we are that he is the absolute best.
Yeah. Because we mean it, people. Like, I try and not throw those words around lightly. I've tried to be more cautious in recent years with who I say, like, oh, this guy's a license for money, or this woman's a star, or whatever. Like, I feel like those are loaded terms. And so I know how loaded calling somebody the best in the world is when the wrestling world is so vast.
Yeah.
But Bryan owns it right now. When you can have a guy, and no disrespect to Kofi Kingston, because I thought Kofi had a lot of upside going into the feud, but let's also be truthful with each other. Kofi was a mid-carder when he started the feud with Bryan. And I feel like the stuff he did with Bryan solidified him as a main eventer, especially because Bryan put him over clean twice, dominantly. Like, this is a dude that legitimately elevated another performer. If that's not the mark of being great at what you do, then the mark shouldn't even fucking exist, because what are we doing here? He owns it. He owns the wrestling world right now, on the mic, in the ring, and being selfless in that ring, elevating other talent. He's amazing. I could sing his praises for 2 hours, but I know we have other shit to do. So what came after this?
Well, I mean, like I said, we're not really going in order. We were really just wanting to kind of cover the major storylines. So Roman would be the first one. Let's talk about the Becky-Sasha stuff, because you and I did live react to Sasha's huge return. And since then, oh, God. So the first thing that really we got as far as like updates go with this story was last week when Becky had her video talking about how, Sasha left WWE crying 4 months ago with her career cold as ice, talking about the only reason she's hot now is because of Becky. All she had to do was speak about her a few times, and now everyone's talking about Sasha. Saying, Sasha Banks is the greatest woman to never be great. And then she says, and this was actually a line that really pissed me off, the true greats never need to be coaxed into greatness. And I just love that, because where was Becky last summer before she turned on Charlotte? Before she got quote unquote coaxed into greatness? She was doing nothing. Her basically being in a purgatory is what got the crowd behind her in the first place, because everyone felt like she was being underutilized. Yeah,
that's true. That's true.
Like, I get that it's kayfabe and Becky is just trying to basically just stir some shit, but it's just really frustrating when the WWE, in their own promos, in their own writing, ignores literally barely even over a year ago of a character's history.
Yeah. And I agree with you. Like, I feel like it is being neglectful of how, Becky struggled and how everything happened for her. I know there's been a lot of controversy over Sasha's final promo, breaking her silence. Let me just say too, since we're kind of talking about an overview of the Becky Sasha stuff, obviously Sasha's return was legendary. You already noted that we have a live reaction up on the channel, which I encourage everybody to go and watch, because it was just so fun laughing at Natalya. I loved how Sasha handled the Michael Cole interview, where everybody was talking about my blue hair, and then Michael Cole erroneously asserted, Sasha, all due respect, nobody's talking about your hair. Michael, her hair is actually a very big deal, thanks. So maybe be a real journalism and check your Twitter feed before you open your face. And then just saying you're welcome and walking off. I thought that was handled well. I know there's been controversy about, I shouldn't say controversy, but there's been a divide over how people felt about Sasha's final response, opening up as to why. I think it's so fucking funny Honestly, like, I didn't know how to feel at first, but then I think I saw tweets from Brad Shepard taking credit, like being like, oh, see, I was right, not realizing that he's getting fucking worked. So then I decided that I loved it. Because, like, if she's genuinely working people, like, I personally think that's great. So I'm going to give her response a thumbs up. How did you feel about Sasha's response, though, man? I'm curious what you thought about the whole thing.
Yeah. I mean, she kind of had two responses, right? Like, her first response was the initial disingenuous interview where, like you mentioned, she brought up her hair. And then her second, more genuine response was this week, where she talked about, oh, there were all these rumors and they were all true because I wasn't being given the same opportunities that Becky Lynch was being given. I was on the undercard in a tag team title match that I didn't care about. Well, Becky Lynch got to main event WrestleMania, and I think that's dumb or disgusting or whatever word she used. I don't think she even used a word like that. But, like, I thought that they were both great. I thought that the more disingenuous interview could have been handled a little bit better. I thought that it was like, oh, like she's going the Alexa Bliss heel kind of route now, where she's, pretending to be cutesy and goody even though she's still being a bitch. And then this week, I thought that her promo that she cut to start Raw was great. I thought that she did a really good job. There were like two, I think, verbal botches in there that need to get cleaned up a little bit. But the only real complaint that I have is that everybody who pays attention to online rumors and stuff is under the impression that Sasha pushed hard for those tag titles to be made a thing in the first place.
Yes, I will agree with you on that.
That she and Bayley were like constantly harassing Vince McMahon, make women's tag titles. And now they're trying to basically rewrite history and say, oh, Sasha didn't ever care about those tag titles. She always wanted to be in the main event. And like, yeah, I'm sure she wanted to be in the main event, but don't tell me she didn't care about the tag titles when, like, how many fucking social media posts did she put out condemning people like me who would have rather seen her versus Bayley than her teaming with Bayley because she's having fun and enjoying her time with her friend as tag team champion.
Yeah, and see, dude, another problem I have with that, which you kind of touched on, is that Sasha and Bayley are still supporting each other on social media.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like if Sasha was going to bury the tag titles, like, oh, I didn't want to do this, Bayley should have had at least a Twitter response or at least gotten a quick backstage interview. Bayley, what did you think about Sasha's comments about the tag titles? And she should have sold. I'm really hurt by this because Sasha's my friend. I still regard her as a friend even after what she did in Italia and stuff. It just kind of saddens me that she doesn't feel the same way. And then you could potentially, and just hear me out here, everybody, you could potentially dovetail that into their Survivor Series match in November. You could use that as a start and then build it up. If Bayley's still SmackDown Women's Champion, which I don't have the highest expectations for given who she's going against, and Sasha, if she beats Becky for the Raw Women's Championship, then you have that collision where, you can kind of get a little taste of it for a one-off. But they didn't do that, and I guarantee you they're probably still supporting each other on Twitter, which completely flies in the face of what Sasha just said.
Yeah.
Because here's the thing. If you're saying you don't care about the tag titles, you're implicitly saying you also don't care about Bayley and the things you did with Bayley, and that's just patently false. So I actually 100% agree with your criticism, and I think it's important that you addressed it because I don't think it's unfair to say it when there's just so much evidence to the contrary. And if you're going to be a heel, you should be mindful of that evidence and just take a better angle, which I don't think she did. So I think that's fair.
Yeah. So I also find it kind of interesting that really I find it interesting to just kind of pay attention to what acts the WWE keeps isolated to either show. So, like, for example, Daniel Bryan is almost never on Raw.
Yeah.
Roman is almost always on Raw and SmackDown. And honestly, I feel like he's on Raw almost more often than he's on SmackDown, even though he's supposed to be a SmackDown guy.
Right.
Sasha and Becky have been kept to Raw.
Yes.
I just find that interesting because, it's almost to me, I don't really know if I would consider it to be a good thing or a bad thing, because you could interpret it as like it's a good thing because they want those two women to be like a centerpiece of Monday Night Raw and they don't want you to be able to see them anywhere else. But you could also see it as a bad thing because if they put Roman on both shows, then obviously that's not something that they necessarily think about, and they just want to put their biggest draws on every show.
Right.
So what do you think about that situation, man?
That is very interesting. I think that's a great point that you bring up about, like, there obviously being a wild card rule, but some performers are more exclusive than others.
Yeah.
And yeah, I never really thought about that before until you brought it up. But I guess it makes sense because especially too that the people that Vince or whoever puts a higher monetary value on, you're not going to want to expend them as much as say other talents. Like if you take, say, just to spitball here, a Nikki Cross, you're not really going to have any qualms about having her on both a Raw and a SmackDown. If anything, you're probably thinking that that's helping her brand long term. But if you have somebody that already has an established brand that you have a lot of money in, like a Roman, you're probably going to want to be more protective of that and be like, okay, anything you do, let's just keep it more confined to this show. Yeah. And you could do some stuff on this show, but it's going to be very minimal at best. So, yeah, I think it makes sense. I'm glad you brought it up. I had never thought about it before. And but again, though, I think this is why you should do away with the wild card rule altogether. Because if who is a wild card is really a matter of arbitration and not some long-term plan, like, okay, we're going to have this person on these two shows specifically to get them over to do this feud. Like if it's really just to pad out content and has no coherent thought process long term, you should just do away with it altogether. Because if it's simply a system of arbitration, we want to protect this person, but I don't mind this person being exposed, I really don't see the value in it whatsoever. So that's kind of my 2 cents on that.
Yeah, man. It's just interesting to me. Also, I think the not this week's show, but last week's show was when Sasha slammed Natalia's arm into that like drawer thing.
Yeah. God, that was so good.
It might have even been this week too that we got Sasha versus Natalya and Sasha beat her after way too long.
Yes.
Took her way too damn long to do it. That might have been last week, but I'm pretty sure that those both happened within the confines of this kind of, catch up.
Right, yeah. I enjoyed the Sasha and Natalya match. I know some people said it was too long. Others said, to a degree, that they thought it was too short. I guess with the gripe about, like, the women's matches and stuff like that. I said that I felt like the match, even though it was shorter than, say, Becky Natalya, it made sense because Natalya was working with a kayfabe injury. I enjoyed it, though, because, like, it was just great to see Sasha bump again and sell again and employ that heel psychology. She's so good at what she does. And honestly, dude, I don't think anybody really took this match to be this, but I took the match to be kind of a quasi-advertisement for what we can expect for Sasha, Becky, and I'm salivating. I am so ready for those two to get in the ring and just kill each other. So I didn't have any problems with the match.
Okay, it was this week. It was this week. Sasha Natalya was this week.
I especially like the post-match beatdown as well. I thought that was great because any chance for Natalya to feel like shit and cry in the ring is just a win for me. So, yeah, good stuff all around, man.
I don't think Becky came to her rescue either, did she?
No, she did not, which was also delicious. Becky picking those
Oh my god, that is delicious. All right, so another story that's been going on. Let's talk about The Fiend, man. Let's talk about The Fiend because
let's talk about The Fiend.
So, not this week, but last week. It was when the King's Court was supposed to happen. The lights started going out. Jerry Lawler's just like, well, fuck this shit, I'm out. And he starts walking away. He goes up the ramp, and the Fiend is behind him. So that was a great moment.
Oh, dude. I love this character so much.
I know you do. I
think from a character perspective, my favorite character in wrestling right now, easily. It's not even close. Like, I think for a lot of people, if you asked, probably quite a few people would say Orange Cassidy, because I know he's really building up his profile and stuff. For me, though, The Fiend, 100%. And to me, like, not to get all cheesy and maudlin, I just find the whole story fucking inspiring, dude. Because, like, Bray was nothing before he dropped off the face of the earth, and now he's come back, and he's one of the hottest things in WWE, if not most of pro wrestling right now. And I just...
Yeah, I don't think we had anything Bray-related this week, did we? We didn't have a Firefly Funhouse or The Fiend or anything this week, did we?
No, I'm surprised, like, how protective WWE has been of the gimmick, or, like, how selective, I guess.
Yeah, it really is almost like becoming, like, a not every week, like an every other week almost kind of thing, because we didn't have anything of him on the post-SummerSlam shows either, and then last week he did the Lawler thing, and now nothing this week, so it's like an every other week thing now.
Yeah.
That's interesting, isn't it?
Dude, it's wonderful. Do you want to, because I know it's kind of outside the scope of catch-up commentary, do you want to talk about those Hell in a Cell rumors? Because I know other people have...
I'm excited about it, man. I'm excited about it. Whether it's Seth or Braun, I think it'll be great. Because if it's Braun, like, the psychological warfare would still be there. And then you kind of have, like, daddy coming home to roost kind of thing, because it's like Bray kind of brought Braun up to the main roster. He was originally in the Wyatt family, but now it's a completely different Bray, and it's not the one that Braun is kind of familiar with.
Dude, and Braun even responded, whatever center is hosting Hell in a Cell, because I forget the account, Braun responded to it, and he said, oh, you know, if the teacher wants to learn from the student, or if the teacher wants to face the student, like, I'm right here. Let's, you know, challenge accepted. So, like, Braun's acknowledged it. The arena that's hosting Hell in a Cell, they tweeted it out. So I'm looking to take this rumor for once, like, completely at face value, 100% credibility for me. I know card's subject to change, and I'm always keeping that in the back of my mind. But I personally love it. Like, I know from Wrestling Rantin' we listen to, he thinks it's too soon. I honestly, and I'm going to try and paraphrase what I said to you on Rocket League, because I know you enthusiastically agreed with me. I think in the world of wrestling, things like too late can apply, I think, in some instances, but too late and too soon for the most part don't really apply when the writing is there. If you write a well-written program and you have it structured well and it's believable, you can sell people on anything. I mean, case in point.
See, I would say too soon won't apply if the writing is there, but too late definitely can.
Too late definitely can. I'll agree with that. But too soon in this case, I don't think it does. Like, they made Kofi in a matter of how long did they have?
A month or two? Maybe 2 months?
Yeah. They made him like a main event act in a fucking month, maybe two. So, like, and they've been treating The Fiend well, I'd say, from the get-go for the most part. I've enjoyed everything he's done. I haven't had any criticisms. I'm excited for this, and I'll be honest, I want him to win. I don't care if it's Seth. I don't care if it's Braun. I know some people are concerned that if it is Seth, they don't see Fiend triumphing to be that likely, because this was the guy that beat Brock clean, and they see him going for the long haul, which I can understand, because I've even said in parts that I see Seth going all the way to Mania 36 with the title. But plans change, right? And I'd like for the change plan to be the fucking Fiend gets the Universal Championship. I would love to see that happening.
Yeah, that would be really cool. My only concern is Survivor Series, because you know WWE likes to use Survivor Series to do champion versus champion, and I really don't think that they would do The Fiend versus just some random wrestler guy on SmackDown. I think they would want that to be Seth.
Yeah, and I think Seth versus Fiend could be a great matchup, but man, dude, like, I gotta be careful when we do preview and predictions and like deeper analysis like of this character going forward. I've got to protect myself, because just because I feel a certain way, sure as hell doesn't mean WWE feels the same way. Because if I had the pencil, I would have him go over at Hell in a Cell. I would have him be the Universal Champion. I just don't know if WWE feels that way. And if they don't, I could just see them kind of doing a haphazard kind of booking where it's like, oh, we still have Seth as champion or Braun as champion, but we're also protecting the Fiend. It's like, no, it's not. You can't be half in and half out. When you have a character like this, you either have to fully commit or you just have to regret putting your foot on the gas at all. Because, like, that's just how I see it. I don't know if anybody agrees or disagrees with me.
I agree. Hand is up. I agree.
Yeah, there's no lukewarm commitment here. Like, shit or get off the pot. And I hope I hope it's a glorious fucking 80 Keurig shit. And they give him everything, man. I love the Fiend. So I know we got kind of off track, because the most recent thing he did, you said, just to circle back around, was attack Jerry Lawler.
Yeah.
And can I just say, too, as if there isn't enough reason to love the Fiend, he's doing God's work by finally taking out these old fucks.
I mean, he already took out... Did he attack Kurt Angle at some point?
He did.
Okay, so he's just going after former Raw GMs, isn't he? He took out Kurt Angle, he took out Mick Foley and took the mandible claw from him. I don't think Lawler's a former Raw GM, but still, those two guys have that in common. And then
he is old. He is old.
That is true. He is old. In WWE context, he is a legend.
Yeah. Like, I love that he is killing this old guard. And I think he might have talked about, although I don't want to stretch, nobody quote me on this or hold me to this. I think he's talked about, you know, like bringing in the new and bringing change with the Fiend and being a hero. And I can do it this time because I have the Fiend. And I think in his eyes, being a hero in wrestling's contest and in the wrestling context is saving and perpetuating the future, and by helping us let go of the past. And I love that. I love that he's taking out these guys. I love that he's asserting and inserting via the fingers in the mouth his dominance. God, it's so good. Sorry, I got really aroused there. What were we talking about? Oh, yeah.
You know, I'm not even 100% sure, honestly.
Yeah, it's God, it was so wonderful. Lawler was so incapacitated he couldn't even pick up his girlfriend from school afterwards, so it was great. Fucking great. It was so
Where
good.
did that come from?
We know how Lawler is. Come on, did I really even say anything that out of line in the grander context? I don't
Maybe
think
not,
so.
I guess not.
So, I love the Fiend. Best character for me right now. I'm honestly, if I wasn't the way I am with my money and as selective, I legitimately would buy Fiend merch, and God knows it probably will happen sooner than later.
Honestly, just a black shirt with like a dimly faded mask of the Fiend with the dreadlocks.
Yes. So yeah, nothing.
Maybe it says "Let me in" on the back. That would be dope.
Yes.
Those,
oh
like,
my God.
Scratch letters.
Yeah, and Foster makes a great point too, which is why this character has so much depth and richness. Oh my God, again. So if he uses the hurt hand on opponents, what happens when he uses the heal hand? Oh God, see, we don't know, but I think there's so much possibility there if he ever turns face and really is going to try and be a hero, like, down the road. I don't know. Like, I don't know. I know a lot of build happens on social media, which we hate, but that's why I follow Bray closely, because I always want to, like, I don't want to miss a stitch of whatever, like, crocheting he's doing narratively, right? And it's just so good. It's just so good. All of it is so good. I love it. And see in my voice, my inflection, I feel like a kid again when he's on screen. That's the biggest compliment I could give any performer or any angle, is when you take me back to that sweet, sweet nostalgia of the Ruthless Aggression era when wrestling was my fucking shit. And it's so good. Okay, I think I'm done margasming all over everything. So you can have the floor, sir.
You know what, though? That's why we do this. That's why I want us to continue at least somewhat keeping up with the WWE product, because the good shit is that level of good shit.
Dude, I mean, it's so funny we're even talking about the Fiend, and I know, I just gave you the floor, but I had to take it back because I have some residual stuff, I guess, to get out of my system. But I watched over and over him putting that mandible claw on Mick, the first one, which, I mean, hey, quick aside in all sincerity, kudos to Mick for, like,
passing
down the move to the Fiend. Whatever you can say about Mick in his later years, I've even had criticisms. I adored the dude as a kid. And as a person, that was a really cool fucking thing for him to do. And unlike Bob Backlund giving Darren Young the crossface chicken wing, I think this is going to stick. And it's amazing. And I love that he beat Finn with it at SummerSlam. And it's just, that's when you appreciate the history of wrestling and when you're diehards like we are, it's just really cool to see that. But going back on my scumbag shit, though, it was so cool to just see him go down on those weak-ass knees. Like, yeah, Mick. Yeah.
I love Javaris in chat. Murder the elderly, Ray!
Yes. Oh, God, dude. Bray and the Fiend character, and this, I will definitively give you back the floor. He is everything right, everything good, everything wonderful about pro wrestling, and that's where my positivity comes from. It is earned, and the Fiend has earned it. He has a goddamn monopoly on it right now, save for Kyrie, because Kyrie just exists, and I squee. But the Fiend is...
That is true.
Amazing.
I've seen it.
Yeah, you have. So now, my friend, I apologize. What are we talking about?
You never need to apologize, man. This is your show too.
Oh God, it's just I need to change pants, but I don't want to leave you alone. It's such a conflict. God damn. So what are we talking about?
Let's talk about all this shit going on between Braun Strowman and Seth Rollins and AJ Styles and the OC. So last week on Raw, Styles versus Strowman happened for the US title. The OC attacked Strowman and got AJ disqualified. And then we had the backstage shit with Rollins chasing Strowman down and telling him, oh, I know where this is headed, and if it was up to me, you'd be my next challenger, but tonight I want to be your partner, and I want to challenge the OC for the tag team championship. And they did. And they won. And then this week, they defend... Did they defend the titles? No, there was a gauntlet match this week to determine their number one contenders that was won by fucking Ziggler and Rude. Or should I say, God, what was the name I came up for it? I got to look it up in the Discord. I came up with a name for it that was really good.
Nice. While you're doing that...
Rudolph! Yeah. Rudolph!
Okay, that's low-key pretty amazing. Fucking hell. So I guess just to take it step by step to talk about Braun and AJ and company, I want to compartmentalize my thoughts here. Because on one hand, I really love AJ as U.S. champion, right? I think just fucking AJ Styles, I keep talking about name brand and name value. I talked about it a lot on the AEW preview predictions for All Out, which you guys can check out on the channel if you haven't already. I know, DBK, you're here for this commentary. You're going to want to listen to it for some of the stuff we talk about, I know. So just AJ Styles being AJ Styles is great for the U.S. title. I think his program with Ricochet for it was awesome. I don't know how I feel, though, about the stuff with Braun Strowman lately. Because on one hand, you can tell that Heyman is very invested in Braun, as he should be. Look at the fucking man. And I can tell that they're trying to rehabilitate his image and kind of retcon some of the previous bad booking, which, again, I wholeheartedly encourage. But again, I hate when WWE books themselves into a corner. Because then it's the case of you can't have your cake and eat it too. Because obviously they want AJ as U.S. champion, but they want to push Braun. So why make them even meet at all? You know, like if you're going to do it, because I feel like Braun is the more important story because he's closer to the world title right now than AJ is. So hierarchically speaking, Braun seems more important than AJ, just very superficially. Him not beating AJ really left me kind of flummoxed. I'm like, really, this is the finish we're going with? Just another DQ? When I
well, and then they did it again this week, too.
Yeah, and then they did it again this week, because that's right, we are talking about 2 weeks. So they did pretty much a DQ finish both weeks. And here I'm thinking, and I was even joking in chat, like, because the Discord, and those that are a member of it, which if you want to be a member of it and get in on this, it's only $3 a month on the TWitWoW Patreon. Because we were all talking, you, me, and the patrons, about like the possibilities for Clash of Champions. Would Braun have 3 matches? Would him and Seth just have a crazy match for like both the belts after already successfully defending the tag titles? Like, what would go down? And there was a very inspired discussion in the Discord. And I feel like by WWE having AJ retain, well, it's never going to be the worst move because, again, it's AJ Styles. It just killed all of that inspired discussion. So I'm just going to say personally, because we kind of did this with our AEW preview of like how we would book it, I would have had Braun win here, and I'm just curious what you think about it.
So here's what I think. 2 weeks out, obviously, because we do have 2 more weeks of WWE programming before Clash of Champions. And that's why we do this, is so that we can kind of gather our thoughts on the product halfway in the middle, so that when we do our preview and predictions, we don't have to think about things that happened a month ago. So, to me, the ideal way to go about this is for Braun to end up as the United States champion, Seth keeping the Universal champion, and the OC getting the tag titles back.
Yeah, that seems fair to me. Yeah.
And I think that can literally all of that can happen at Clash of Champions in the same night. I think that in the same night, you can have Braun versus AJ Styles, where Braun wins because AJ doesn't have the help of the OC, because the OC have their match later on in the night, and heels are more selfish and they don't want to help other people when they have other matches because they want to focus on winning their own match. And then later on in the night, because the OC are fresh and Braun isn't, they can beat Braun and Seth for the tag titles. And then because again Braun has already been through 2 matches, it makes a lot more sense for Seth to retain against him. So the match order I think is really important. But it can all happen in the same night if they do it right.
Yeah, I think everything you've said is completely sensible, and I would assent to it wholeheartedly. I feel like I would play it a very similar way, if not the exact same way as you did. So yeah, no disagreements here.
Yeah, so that's kind of where I am at with this story. I think that they're really just kind of, it's like I even said to you before we went live, Raw has so much filler. Because it's 3 hours, and they just got to fill time, man. They just got to fill TV time. They just got to put out 3 hours worth of content every week, whether it's irrelevant, or whether it is relevant, or whether it is important or not. They just got to fill those 3 hours every week. And I think that this AJ, Braun, OC, Seth stuff is setting up pay-per-view matches, but they're doing too much of it. They're doing it to the point that it's starting to feel redundant, and the DQ finishes, especially, like, they at least got kind of cute this week with Braun using the chair to take out the OC, and then the referee being like, hey, I heard that, and seeing Braun with the chair and disqualifying him this time. But it just gets tiring, man. It just gets tiring. It gets to the point that people don't want to see it anymore. And by the time we actually do get it to the pay-per-view, people aren't going to be excited about it. And that's going to include us because we've already seen it how many times, you know?
Exactly. No, I completely agree, man. Absolutely.
So that's kind of where I'm at on this whole situation. Are you ready to move to our next thing?
Absolutely, friend.
Okay, so I'm trying to decide what our next thing should be. And I tell you what, I want to make this known. If you're okay with this, I would be perfectly fine with us not talking about the 24/7 title and all of its shenanigans at all.
Absolutely. It just seems like one giant circle jerk anyway for the most part, so I'm cool with that.
Awesome. So just so you guys know, we won't be talking about the 24/7 title. Let's, it's not really a full-blown, like, extended story yet, but it's kind of another domino in a long line of dominoes. The Ray thing from last Monday.
Oh, boy.
Where he talks about how, he has this plan to going into matches on what he wants to do, but his body isn't always responding as quickly as he wants it to be or as quickly as it used to. And he's about to take his mask off, and then Dominic stops him and asks him to be his tag team partner in his first match. Mysterio says that he would do it for him.
See, man, and because I always appreciate when WWE acknowledges that the older wrestlers and of like that old guard that are still active are running out of time, because I already feel like you're imbuing the story with a very personal element that's very resonant with anybody, because nobody beats Father Time. Even you and I, decades from now, we're going to be old. Our bodies aren't going to respond the way that we would want them to, and it's going to suck. And so seeing that play out, it's a very human, very vulnerable story. Having said that, the acting is just, like, Ray's promo, I felt like was a bit rough, but then you get Dominic, and I'm sorry, I don't know what it is about this man's face, but, like, every time I hear his voice or just see him, it's like I just think back to when Johnny Mundo assaulted his ass, and that's kind of my happy place that I go to when Dominic opens his mouth. Is that a really asshole thing for me to say? 100%. But is
it also super relatable, Go? Also, yes.
Yes. That's the thing, man. Like, because again, if I'm compartmentalizing and I'm being fair, which I'm really trying to be for these, well, I try and be in all commentaries with a mixed success rate. I think the thematic nature of the story, a man battling against Father Time and losing despite a valiant effort, that's very personal. I think it's a story that can almost always work. And I think we just saw the almost, because the acting is really not meeting the standards of that kind of story. How do you feel about it, though, man? I always feel like
the acting isn't even the problem to me. To me, the problem is them giving Ray this story in the first place. Like, even if Rey Mysterio, as an individual, as a performer, is prepared to wind his career down, hand the baton off to the next generation, and make sure that Dominic is a part of that next generation, that isn't something that you should be portraying on your TV show to me. To me, if Ray wants to do that personally, you can have him do that without telling people that he's going to do that. Because the problem that I have is that now Andrade beating Rey Mysterio the week prior is less meaningful than it is, or than it was at the time. Because now...
Oh, yeah, okay.
Because now Rey Mysterio is coming out and saying, yeah, Andrade beat me, but he didn't really beat me at my best. He didn't beat the Rey Mysterio. He beat an old, beaten-down version of Rey Mysterio.
Yeah, that's actually an amazing point that I hadn't really bothered to consider. Yeah, this really does diminish the value of Andrade beating Rey 2 straight falls. Wow. Even when they're trying to push Andrade, they bitch him out. Why?
Yeah, that's what's frustrating about this to me, because Andrade beat Rey 2 straight falls, and that, at the time, felt like a huge deal. And it should have been portrayed as a huge deal. It should have been, wow, this young up-and-coming Mexican star is really kind of taking Rey Mysterio's legacy. And especially if there are any plans to have Andrade become the King of the Ring, they really should have pulled the trigger on the Rey versus Rey thing. Rey Andrade versus Rey Mysterio. Winner gets to keep the Rey name. And maybe you can even have Andrade be the one to unmask Mysterio. Mysterio versus Andrade. Rey lost the Rey name to Andrade, but now Rey's putting his mask on the line to try and get it back. They could have done so much, and it would have created a huge star in Andrade that if Rey Mysterio really wanted Dominic to become a star, he should have made a top heel to put Dominic over in the future when Dominic's ready for it.
Yeah, 1,000% agree. I mean, again, you know your whole breakdown of the Rey Andrade, well, Rey Andrade, and just the Mysterio versus Andrade, just to kind of make the distinction. Feud, that thread that you did, I went all in with my King of the Ring bracket, as you know.
Yeah, and we'll get around to the King of the Ring. I'm really trying to save the King of the Ring.
Oh yeah, I'm just
to be the last thing that we talk about on the main roster before we get into NXT, because that I think is the most enthusiastic thing that's going on the main roster between the two of us.
Oh, easily. And I only mention it though just to bring up the point that like I see your vision about making Dominic and solidifying Andrade as a top heel, and even doing something good for Rey to get him a part of a really meaningful program with whatever good he has left in him, you know, in the ring and otherwise in the business. I see it. I 100% agree with it. But I also agree with your prior criticisms that you had about the mishandling of this feud so far, because that is concerning, you know, that it would just diminish what Andrade accomplished against Rey. And I don't want this guy looking like a guy that beat a legend on his worst day, you know, at the end of the day. I think that'd be very bad for Andrade's character. So let's hope that they avoid that. But so far, it's anybody's guess. It's kind of a mixed bag at present, so we'll see where they go with it.
Yeah. All right. We actually got a good little discussion there out of one little tiny segment where Rey, kind of, fucked, I guess you could just say fucked Andrade's legacy in the ass. But anyway, let's get on to the SmackDown tag title division. The New Day are SmackDown tag champs, right?
That's correct.
Okay, I thought so, yeah. So we've got the New Day versus the Revival happened on Raw. And then we've also, the big thing, hang on just 1 second real quick. I want to just take care of something. Just talk about, the Revival and the New Day last week on Raw. They had their match. There we go. Okay, I wanted to change the background over, but I was kind of distracted at the time. So we've got this kind of new stable now, FTRKO, the Revival teaming up with Randy Orton. And the reason that I was kind of trying to pass it to you there is because last week was when they made Kofi watch as they broke Xavier Woods' leg.
Oh, you mean last week was segment of the year for Monday Night Raw? Yeah, I completely agree.
You said it, not me.
I can tell you FTRKO is probably already my favorite faction of all time because they gave us the ultimate Xavier Woods Cryface compilation with just him realizing that his career and his very livelihood in the ring is over. So it's beautiful. It's beautiful. I think it's a great faction. FTRKO, it works so well too because the R is like Revival and the beginning of RKO. So yeah, it's got a lot going for it. I'll tell you what too, man. I am grateful for both. Well, really for all the members of the New Day because they are still a very hot act all this time later. Kudos to those guys for maintaining their heat in a positive sense, their momentum. And for Kofi, I like that his feud with Orton has a little bit of extra bite now to it outside of just the history 10 years ago. Because you shouldn't be so reliant on the past. I could forgive it for SummerSlam because Kofi made the challenge and, sometimes the past haunts us. And that, I think, is a proper way to use the past. Kofi looking for vindication in the present and to excise those demons from his sense of confidence and his sense of worth and all that stuff. But if we're elevating the feud beyond that and we're making it a personal feud, I think this is a great direction, just shattering Xavier's leg while he watched, and Kofi looking absolutely helpless. Whether you like Randy or not, I thought it was great heel work. And it's the most relevant the Revival has felt in a while since they won the Raw Tag titles for the first time. And I like that they're doing something that isn't even necessarily directly related to the tag titles and helping Randy, but they also get something out of it by feuding with the SmackDown Tag Champs, and Xavier and Big E. It's just good shit all around, man. I feel good about it, honestly.
Good shit, damn it.
Exactly. So any other thoughts you want to share about that, or?
Well, I'm trying to find what else has been going on with them.
Because Because I know on SmackDown this week there was a little something, but
Yeah, exactly. That's kind of what I'm getting at, actually.
yeah, because it was I know Orton and Kofi had an interaction, and then Orton later in the night had a match with Big E, and I think the Revival.
And this week too, the Revival were in the big gauntlet match. So yeah, last week. Okay, yeah, there we go. Last week, we got the Kofi, or Kofi watching Xavier get his leg broken thing. And then Kofi tried to return the favor, tried to do the same thing to Orton, but the Revival saved Orton, right?
Right.
And then we got the Revival versus Heavy Machinery last week. And the Revival... did the Revival win that? Yeah, they did. The Revival won. They beat Heavy Machinery last week.
Yeah.
And that was on SmackDown last week. And then this week, the Revival were in the big gauntlet match. They were a part of the big gauntlet match. And they actually did end up losing to Rudolph.
I'm sorry, it's going to take me some time to adjust to that. But yeah.
Good.
Yeah, they did. Should we just talk about the gauntlet match in general, or did you want to take it piece by piece and only focus
No. Right now, I just want to talk about the SmackDown tag titles. The gauntlet match isn't really important to me. Like, I really didn't think we would even talk about it at all, other than just kind of saying, like, oh, hey, Rudolph are a thing, and they won that thing.
Okay, fair enough. So yeah, Revival looked good in the gauntlet. I like that they beat Heavy Machinery. We said that was last week. And yeah, and then this week on SmackDown again, they made their presence felt with the whole thing, and then I think last week on SmackDown, like you said, they saved Orton from the Kofi beatdown. So yeah, FTRKO is doing it for me. It's just good shit.
Were the Revival on this week?
Beg pardon?
Were the Revival on this week?
I feel like they helped Orton beat Big E on SmackDown, if I remember correctly. And if nothing else, they definitely helped Orton in the post-match beatdown of Big E.
Okay, yeah.
So, like I said, FTRKO is really doing it for me, and I was going to say that it's really cool to see them in a tag team championship feud that's more personal beyond the championship, because it's involving the New Day, and they're brothers, and if you attack one, you attack them all kind of mentality. So the Revival are also piggybacking off of this very personal feud that Orton has with Kofi, which automatically gives their feud with Xavier and Big E more bite to it than, hey, you've got titles that we want.
Yeah.
So I really like it, dude. It's good stuff.
Yeah, absolutely, man. So there's a lot of intertwining going on here. I wonder, do you think it'll just be two separate matches? The two members of New Day versus the Revival, and then Kofi versus Orton again at Clash, or do we think it'll be like some crazy 6-man tag with all the gold on the line?
I think it's already been confirmed that Kofi and Orton are having a rematch at Clash, and I think it's just going to be two separate matches again. But hopefully, maybe at Hell in a Cell, they would do a unique twist, and it would be New Day versus FTRKO, winner takes all, potentially. Because we'll maybe.
Yeah, that would kind of fit the theme of the weekend too, because War Games is or no, actually no, War Games is in November. Never mind.
Yeah, but even so, it'd be a nice precursor to War Games.
Yeah.
So maybe
that would be really cool.
We'll see.
All right. Now that we got through that, do you have anything to say about the women's tag titles? Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross won the titles on the show that we live reacted to, defended them against Fire and Desire last week. I don't know if they did anything this week, honestly.
Didn't they have a moment of bliss or something? I don't know. Or no, you know what? Nikki Cross had a match with Bayley this week.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Bliss and Cross, or what's their team name? The Blisters or something? I don't know.
Twisted Blisters.
Twisted Blisters. Yeah. I guess it's cool because obviously the tag titles are going to be cared about now because Vince cares about Alexa, so by association he's going to care about the titles so long as she's associated with them. Obviously as a fan I'm pissed because I wanted my Kyrie to have Treasure and it makes me sad that she doesn't. So I'm not going to cry here though because I'm grown and I'm strong. But it's good enough.
Keep it together, man. Keep it together.
I know. I'm sorry. It's good enough, I guess. Them beating Fire and Desire, whatever. I really wish they cared about NXT UK and NXT, like the women there, because you could probably inject some much-needed life into the division, especially now that Boston Hug are no longer a thing. because they were making the division before, and then you gave it to Iconics, who I love Iconics, but they weren't exactly the best promoted team, and we know how the story goes.
Yeah, I mean, that's the problem, though, is that, like, the Iconics not being booked, and more specifically, not being booked to defend the tag titles, a lot of people online somehow, like, it's almost like they forget that it's a fucking work and that there's a script and that they have to follow the script and that they can't just like force their way onto the show and be like, hey, we're defending the titles now because you keep forgetting about us. Like, they're following the script. Like, it's not their decision to not defend the titles.
Yeah.
So, like, the Iconics not being booked to defend the titles somehow reflected poorly on them as champions, and people thought that they were bad champions because they weren't booked to defend the titles.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's just a weird place. I mean, I guess the titles will start getting treated better. I have no idea who they're going to drop them to, though, because I feel like Twisted Blisters have already worked through most of the division, if not the entirety of the division. So we'll just have to see what happens next. Maybe Kabuki Warriors will get another shot and lose that, too. I'm sorry, that was the pessimism that jumped out.
I mean, let's be real, though. If that would happen and Asuka would turn on Kairi after losing, would you really be disappointed?
No, because it would show that they have at least some semblance of a direction for those two, so... Yeah, I'd be cool with it, but only if they did that. If it just faded to black, it'd be like, oh, so you just brought them out to lose again. Oh, I hate everything. Okay, so that's pretty much my thoughts on the women's tag titles. I have nothing else substantive to contribute.
Amazingly talented Japanese women and doing the job to mediocre blondes in WWE. Name a more iconic duo.
Oh, I wish I could name Billy and Peyton doing stuff, but I can't. Fuck. All right, what's next?
All right. I want to say we might be at the King of the Ring already, actually. I think that might be what's next. Let me just double check. We covered that. We covered that. We covered that. We covered that. Okay. I think... Yeah, I think it's time to talk about King of the Ring, John.
Oh, my God. This tournament's been so fun. I think I'm a lot higher on it, too, because the way the matches have been going, Rey Andrade is looking like a real possibility at the moment.
Oh, you know what? We should probably talk about Bayley and Charlotte before we get to King of the Ring.
Oh, I've been loving... Okay. Wait. Let me backpedal. Let me be very careful with my word choice here. Charlotte exists, so that's just my comment on that. Like, it's whatever. Everybody knows how I feel about Charlotte.
Yeah, and depending on how you feel about Charlotte, that's either inherently positive or negative.
Exactly. Bayley, I have to commend her because she's been trying to be anyway a representative for the blue brand. I love that she shoved Charlotte on a moment of bliss and had that smile about it. I love this fire to Bayley. I love this pride to Bayley with this, current character, this current run as SmackDown Women's Champion.
And dude, I love too, after she beat Lacey Evans on SmackDown this week, she called out WWE's writing team straight up. Like, give me SmackDown women, please. She wants Ember. She wants Kairi. She wants everyone on SmackDown. Stop. She wants the real Liv Morgan. She called her the real Liv Morgan.
Yeah, and she's like, where's she at? I guess still trying to come back as real. It's a disgrace. It's a disgrace that you're propping up the SmackDown Women's Title. And then what I worry about, dude, not to get ahead of myself, because I know we do preview and predictions for shows, and I know we're still a little ways away from that because Clash of Champions isn't until the 22nd of September. That might be inaccurate. Wait, let me see. No, 22nd of September. That is a Sunday. That works. I really fear that Charlotte's going to go over, and Bayley will have never had an opportunity to work with SmackDown women, but then that's going to feed right into Charlotte's narrative that under you, the division's going in the toilet, and then I have to rehabilitate it, and then when you know it, the moment Charlotte wins the championship, then she starts working with SmackDown women. And honestly, that's going to piss me off, dude. That's going to piss me off so fucking much because it's not Bayley's fault. But that's exactly what you're telling in kayfabe. Why would you fucking do that? Like, again, I want to be careful with my words here, and feel free to call me out and rein me in. But I feel like if they have Charlotte go over Bayley, especially after the narrative that Charlotte's coming with, that's burying Bayley in a sense. Like, I don't think it's good for her character at all or for her look as a champion. So that's really how I feel about it at present. How do you feel about it?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you as far as, like, if they gave Bayley this, like, what, 3 or 4 month reign, and have had her facing Raw women pretty much the entire time, with the one exception being Ember at SummerSlam. And that was a great freaking match. And then they put the title on Charlotte and immediately start giving her SmackDown women. It's going to piss me off too, big time.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, it's going to piss me off because it's going to be like, what's the word I'm looking for here? It's an economic term that I always use. Opportunity cost. The opportunity cost is going to be what pisses me off, because why couldn't you do this with Bayley? But what's going to be nice is that we're actually going to start getting to see SmackDown women wrestle for the world title. That's going to be great.
Yeah.
I mean, hell, if they do put the title on Charlotte, it wouldn't surprise me if Liv Morgan was her first challenger, because Liv losing to Charlotte was what caused Liv to go away and be like, next time you see me, I'm going to be real.
Yeah. Yeah.
You kind of have like a built-in story right there. So yeah, like it's kind of a mixed bag. Like I would prefer you keep Bayley with the championship, and especially really, like, if you want to put the title on Charlotte, I don't agree, but I can understand wanting to do it. At the very least, hold off until after Survivor Series, please, so that we can get Sasha versus Bayley one more time at least.
Yes. Yes. Oh, man.
That's like my big thing. Like, if you're going to take the title off Bayley, let her keep the thing for another 2.5 months just to get through Survivor Series, so that we can get Bayley versus Sasha at Survivor Series. Because that, like, and I loved Mark's fantasy booking too, where then Sasha eventually, you know, she loses to Bayley because she's never beaten Bayley in singles before. She loses to Bayley at Survivor Series and then goes on to win the Royal Rumble and challenges Bayley for the SmackDown Women's title at WrestleMania, and finally gets her big time WrestleMania singles match, and finally gets a win over Bayley for the first time in her WWE career. Like, all that shit. Give it to me. Inject it into my veins. I want it, please. I don't think the WWE is going to do it because it sounds awesome, and WWE never does shit that sounds awesome. But if there's a chance, I am clinging on to it until it gets proven wrong.
Absolutely. And I don't blame you or Mark or anybody else that's salivating for that possibility. Hell, you know I'm all in on Kyrie Mania, and even I've got a little bit of a drool going on here and that. Like, it's just fucking good shit. That's all there is to it. Like you, I get why they would want to put the title on Charlotte, because I've said this before. The way Charlotte is presented and the way Charlotte's positioned in the company, she is the top woman. So, like, if you have your other women work with Charlotte and you establish that association, that's going to help the value of those other women. And I don't think Bayley has that value. And again, it's not her fault. I cannot stress that enough. The company picks and chooses who they get behind, and they're far more behind Charlotte than they've ever been behind Bayley. So because of that, it's going to help the other women that Charlotte associates with, even if it means costing Bayley her reign, which I don't think they should do. And I do agree with you. You at least need to have Bayley beat Charlotte at Clash of Champions. Because if Charlotte wins the first time out after all the shit she's talked, I stand by again. I think that's a type of burial of Bayley. Is it, like, irredeemable? Can she come back? Of course she can come back. But I think to say that, oh, you're ruining the division and now I've got to clean it up, and then you beat her and you prove her right by working with these SmackDown women, it's just going to make Bayley look awful when it's not her fault in the slightest. So I hope she beats her at Clash of Champions. But other than that, looking at the feud for what it is and not for what we fear it might be, it's been good, especially on Bayley's side. I like the confidence and fire she's coming with on the mic. I think it's good shit, man.
Yeah. All right, so we actually got it mentioned in chat. Nakamura and Sammy are doing a thing.
Yes. I've heard rumors that it's going to be kind of like a Kevin Owens-Chris Jericho feud. Like, it's going to be this long thing with an eventual blow-off of, like, one guy turning on the other and then, like, a big Intercontinental title match. I don't know, though, who should be the heel and who should be the face in that. How do you feel about it?
I'm sorry. I was reading chat again. What was the question?
Well, one, do you agree with the rumor that it's going to be like a Jericho-Owens type thing with a blow-off? And then two, if you agree with that, who should be the Jericho and who should be the Owens? Like, should Sami Zayn stay a heel and we get Nakamura back?
Yeah, definitely. Sammy, yeah, absolutely. Like, it could be as simple as just Nakamura loses one too many times and it pisses Sammy off. Or hell, if Nakamura loses the IC title, it could be as simple as that. It'll piss Sammy off. He'll decide to unhitch, you know, his wagon from that train. He'll decide to kind of be like, oh, you know what? I only was really backing you because you were the champion and it made me look good and I got to get more TV time and stuff. But now that you're not champion anymore, fuck it, I'm done with you. And yeah, Nakamura, I think that this is all kind of going to eventually end up being used as a means to turn Nakamura back to face.
Which I'm cool with. I think Nakamura, you know what's funny, dude? I actually went back and I listened to his first theme, and I actually miss it. Like, I love the heel theme, but I miss the face theme. And
I mean, dude, yeah, like the face theme is going to be amazing too, and especially if he starts getting his special entrances at pay-per-views again with the violin player or the violist or however you want to refer to it. But I also just kind of had a realization that assuming all goes to plan, we'll probably have an amazing face turn from Nakamura where Sammy is just berating someone and Nakamura kind of gives him this look and then grabs the mic and says, "I can speak for myself." And that would be like this big deal thing.
Yes. And really, too, the two big things that this could accomplish potentially is one, Nakamura going back to being face, and two, Sammy winning his first singles title on the main roster. Because if he would beat Nakamura for the Intercontinental title, like, that would be so fucking good. Yeah. And I feel like Sammy's deserved a title run for a hell of a long time. So doing it now, I think, would be fantastic, and I think it would be an amazing feud if it's anything like their first match that they had when Nakamura debuted on NXT.
Yes,
I would be all for it.
Yeah,
and yeah, I think this could be a great feud for two undercard guys, and it could really elevate the IC title the way that, in my mind, AJ versus Ricochet elevated the US title. So I'm here
because it could be like a really like. I feel like I'm like almost like fantasy booking the feud in my mind, where it's just like Sammy just kind of like. Because Sammy's always, like, trying to make himself out to be the good guy and kind of, like, the victim and stuff. So he could be like, you know, it's funny. They always say never meet your heroes, but I didn't realize how right they were. This Nakamura guy, there's nothing special about him. He's no artist. He's just like you people. Like, it would be perfect. It would work so well.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I completely agree with you. 110%.
So that's definitely exciting. All right, that's really exciting. All right, I think it is finally time to get into the King of the Ring tournament.
You mean this ball and ass tournament that's been amazing and that definitely seems to be going the way of Rey Andrade?
Precisely, yes.
All right, man, where do you want to start with it?
Well, we could just start with the first round matches, man. The first match that we got was Joe beating Cesaro and busting my bracket officially. Really, that wasn't the official bust. That was like the pre-bust. That was the pre-bust of my bracket. I had Cesaro winning because I thought that he was going to end up then losing to Drew McIntyre, who would go on to probably defeat Cedric Alexander and then win the whole tournament. So I had McIntyre winning the whole thing, and when Joe beat Cesaro, it was like, well, shit. That really lessens the chances of McIntyre even winning his first round match, much less the entire tournament. And then this week, yeah, Ricochet beat McIntyre. So my winner lost in the first round.
Yeah. And thankfully, I think I did pick Ricochet going. Yeah, I did, because my final is Ricochet versus Andrade, which is looking really fucking good right about now.
Yes, it is.
Oh, God, dude. I need to calm my Swanson down because it's pointing northward towards Rey Andrade, but we're not quite there yet. Yeah, Cesaro Joe was great. What was the other match? Oh, yeah, Cedric versus Sammy. That was fun, too. I feel bad for Cesaro, man, that Joe won, because I agree with a lot of the Cesaro fandom. I think the guy deserves a lot more. I love his new theme. I love his kind of wrestling professor, wrestling machine 2.0 kind of persona. I'm infatuated with it. So I honestly wish he would have won. And you know how much I adore Samoa Joe. And Joe's a great talker, so I can understand why they'd want to put him over, because he's going to, talk himself onto the throne, at least, in his mind. And it was a great match. It was a great, strong style WWE match. And then you look at the well, no, we're only talking about that right now. So yeah, I really enjoyed both of those matches. And then yeah, you talking about Ricochet beating McIntyre. That was a great match. And I'll tell you something, dude. I'm gonna actually quote you and an exclamation you had when we were watching this together. Because when he was going up for the 630 after hitting the one knee to the face move, which I forget what that move's called. What does Ricochet call that?
Oh, it starts with an R.
The revolver, not the revolver.
Recoil.
The recoil. The recoil. The recoil, and then the 630. The crowd. I had it muted. I should go back and I should watch the final few minutes. But you exclaimed that the crowd is so behind Ricochet.
Yes.
They must have popped big for him, which I think is really cool.
It is
really cool that they're behind him. And then Baron and Miz. Baron exists. Like, if he actually ends up winning this tournament, I'm going to look like such a fucking idiot because I actually bullied this man on Twitter. I called him out. I said the only thing that recedes faster than your hairline did are the ratings when you're on screen. No point in having a king that won't have any subjects. So if after that insult, Baron goes on to win the tournament, fuck eating crow, people. I'm just going to be chewing on bricks. I'll have no fucking teeth left. It's going to kill me. Him winning will kill me. It'll kill my pride. It'll kill my ego. For all of you that love Scumbag, you know, Scumbag's in jeopardy, okay? I was vulnerable in bullying somebody publicly on Twitter. If this comes back on me, I'm done. So Baron better fucking lose this. This is serious, like, panic mode right now.
What are you going to do if he makes it to the finals against Ali?
Well, for one, I'll be disappointed because Rey Andrade's out of the cards. And then
well, I mean, that would be the semifinal match, though, that we're all assuming, Ali versus Andrade.
Right. And, you know, if that happens, then my bracket's busted because, again, after your thread, I went all the fuck in.
I mean, the thing is, too, on, you know, not this week, because this week is going to be the quarterfinals, but next week is going to be the semifinals, and Corbin versus Cedric Alexander, which is what we're assuming is going to be the Raw semifinal, will happen before Andrade versus Ali. So we'll probably know the winner of Andrade Ali before that match even happens, because obviously it's just going to be whoever is the opposite alignment of who wins versus between Baron Corbin and Cedric Alexander.
Let me tell you something.
I'm sorry, not Cedric, Ricochet.
Well, let's just oh my God. Let's just really pump the brakes for a second. Because if they do anything with Baron that, like, really teases, like, oh, hey, we got him all the way in the semis. Look, the only thing more Baron than his name and the top of his fucking head.
You expect him to be in the semis.
Well, I do, but then I expect him to lose. If he goes to the finals, I'll say, because that would really bust my bracket.
Yeah.
The only thing more Baron than his name and the top of his head is my sense of hope, okay? Because, like, it's fucking done. They're going to give it to him, and that's just really going to piss me off, because I'm sorry. I love Ali. I actually, and you guys know this, when I knew Andrade was out of the cards for Money in the Bank in that final few moments, I was happy for Foster, and I was happy for Ali that he seemed to win it, you know, before Brock fucking ruined everything. But I just can't see Ali as King of the Ring. I'm sorry. Like, King of the Ring is traditionally more of a heel device for the most part. Like, we've had babyfaces win it. Like, Edge won it, I want to say, in 2001. And so, you know, like, there is a precedent there. But you really think they're going to change that precedent when in WWE's mind they have the option of Baron fucking Corbin? And no, they're going to fucking give it to him if that happens. And that's just going to make me so freaking depressed. So it better not happen. Baron better not go to the finals. Rey Andrade all the fucking way. He's going to have a match of the year contender with Ricochet at Clash of Champions, and then we're never going to speak about Baron doing anything again. That's it. That's my thoughts on that.
Well, okay then. Is that all of your thoughts on King of the Ring in general?
I mean, on the SmackDown side, things are looking good. Andrade beat Apollo Crews. He's got Gable next week, which will be a fucking banger. I can't wait for that.
We've also got Ali versus Elias this coming week.
Ali versus Elias. Yeah, I expect Ali to win that.
Yep. So Andrade versus Ali in the semis for SmackDown, which is what I was saying, is like, we're all kind of assuming we're going to get Corbin versus Ricochet on the Raw side for the semis. So if Corbin wins that, it's pretty much a guarantee that Ali is beating Andrade on the SmackDown side.
And, yeah, dude, I do have to say one thing, though, about my concerns with Elias and Ali. I was far more confident that Ali was going to win when Elias was 24/7 champion. But right now, Drake is. So unless Elias gets the belt back before his match with Ali happens...
I mean, their match is going to be on SmackDown, so Elias could very easily get it back on Raw.
True. But if he doesn't get it back... in my mind, I interpret that as, they wanted him freed up so they can focus on him more with the King of the Ring. Or, you know, and Owens could still screw him out of it. So I am still confident Ali's going to win, but I'm not...
Especially if Shane's not in the building.
Exactly. But yeah, we'll see what happens. But I mean, I know Super Blue said Ali's winning the whole thing. I know Foster's probably got his chips down on Ali, and I love you guys, but it's Rey Andrade's time. Like I went all fucking in on my bracket for this. I will bare my teeth at this to make this happen.
Why don't we do this real quick to kind of wrap up our KOTR discussion?
Sure.
There are 4 guys that we think are very likely going to make the semifinals: Andrade, Ali, Ricochet, and Corbin. We know Andrade's your 1. We know Corbin's your 4. Who would you prefer being King of the Ring if your options were Ricochet and Ali?
I'd say Ali and then Ricochet. And I only say that because I feel like Ali could use it more than Ricochet. I know Ricochet has the King Ricochet in his Twitter handle, but the crowd's already gravitating to him.
Yeah.
That's not going to go away, I don't think, if he doesn't win this tournament. Whereas Ali, I feel like he's been trying to find his footing again since he came back from injury. This is the way that you would do it. So I would say Ali, then Ricochet.
God, I am going to be rooting so hard for Ricochet to beat Corbin.
Dude, you and me fucking both. I don't know if I've ever been a bigger Ricochet fan than next week.
Yes.
On Raw. I'm like, do it, because, dude. And
that's not this coming week. It's the following week.
Okay, the following
Ricochet
week.
and Corbin both still have to win matches in order to get to the semis. Corbin has to beat Cedric. Ricochet has to beat Joe.
That's right. I'm sorry. I jumped the gun. I had a lapse in memory there. Well, we know that Corbin's beating Cedric because with the Cesaro matchup that Cedric had, he really worked over the leg.
Yeah. And Cedric still managed to pull out the W.
Ricochet has a precedent for beating Joe for the U.S. title, and I think they established that precedent for a reason, and they had this match fall the way it was because they wanted in your mind that Ricochet can beat Joe, and I think he will again. I think this is where Joe's journey ends. It's going to be really weird, though, if it's Cedric Joe.
I was going to say, if it does come down to Cedric Joe, I'm just going to be that much more confident that Andrade's winning because I can't imagine they would put Samoa Joe in the KOTR finals.
If they do, though, that gives me 100% confidence that Ali is winning.
Yeah.
But God, dude,
it's funny because we're both like so confident that a SmackDown guy is winning, whether it's Andrade or Ali. And
you know what, dude? Like, I don't want to completely disregard Joe as King of the Ring, but I feel like the only reason I am is he's already so old. Like, he's 39, and
he's older than that, isn't he?
Is he older at this point? I thought he was still 39.
He's 40. He's 40.
He's 40 now. Yeah, he's 40. And, like, he's not an AJ 40 either. Like, he's had injuries before, like, with his tenure with WWE. And
I mean, there was a rumor not too long ago that they didn't want to put any main titles on him because of how injury-prone they perceive him to be.
Yeah, like, he can work for those main titles to legitimize the champion, but that's it.
Yeah.
And I feel
that's why he's such a, like, jobber to the stars.
Exactly. But I feel like King of the Ring is supposed to be a launching pad. Like, if the King of the Ring winner doesn't end 2019 or at least start 2020 in a world title program, then to me it's a fucking bust. So that's why I'm all in on people like Andrade and Ali, because I feel like they could really, and Ricochet, to be in the launching pad, and Drew when he was in there, but not so much. I'm actually glad he was eliminated early. Again, just book him strong. That's all you fucking need. These are guys that could actually benefit from the tournament, and we'll see what happens. But yeah, man, if we get Cedric Joe, that's going to fuck with me so bad. I'm just hoping that at the end of the day, Rey Andrade is your next King of the Ring. So let's do it.
All right. Let's move on to our final brand that we haven't covered yet, and that's NXT. And we've saved this for last because this is going to be easy for us because we've live reacted to everything. So the first show that we'll talk about was the post-takeover show, the post-takeover Toronto show, where Breezango defeated the Forgotten Sons. Undisputed Era presented Regal with evidence that the wrong man was pinned and get a rematch for the tag titles that we saw this week where they won. And Jordan Miles winning the breakout tournament and then stepping up to Adam Cole, holding out a clipboard, challenging him for the NXT title. That match will be next Wednesday.
God, watching Jordan Miles fail is going to be fucking amazing. Undisputed Era with the tag title debacle. I enjoyed it, especially because we got the tag titles back on Fish and O'Reilly. O'Reilly has his guitar back, and thus the cosmic sense of order in the universe has been restored. I am a bit concerned that the prophecy falls in the lap of Roderick fucking Strong, notorious bed shitter in big matches. So I don't know, Roddy. Maybe upgrade. Maybe actually learn how to.
Maybe just get good.
Yeah, exactly. Suck less. But that's good shit. So yeah, everything Undisputed Era, I'm loving, and it's fucking great, man. No complaints here.
Definitely, yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's something you and I definitely agree on, among many.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely.
So last week we had Damian Priest beat Mansoor, Mia Yim beat Vanessa Bourne, Shane Thorne beat Bronson Reed, and then Killian Dane beat Matt Riddle. Ugh.
Oh god, I'm cool with everything except that last one.
Yeah.
Well, actually, Damian Priest beating Keith Lee. If it gets Damian Priest to the North
He
American
didn't. He
title
beat
picture-
Mansoor, man. He beat Mansoor.
Oh, Mansoor. Sorry. So I am cool with that. Because yeah, Keith Lee was before that. Yeah, man, this fucking Dane Riddle feud. Jesus Christ.
Do you know what's funny too is I used some website recaps to just kind of try and gather all of the information that I needed to do this. And the person that I found that wrote up the recap of that episode of NXT was like, oh, the right man went over, but it kind of got invalidated when Riddle popped up and continued fighting Dane for 5 minutes afterwards. It's like, wait. First of all, the right man went over? Fucking no. The wrong man went over very clearly. And second of all, I'm glad that Riddle popped back up and kept fighting Dane, because fuck Dane. Riddle should be the fucking world champion by now.
Yeah, no joke, dude. I don't even, and normally I apologize if I'm about to hyperbolize. Fuck that. Like you said, it's my show too, and this is genuinely how I feel.
Yeah.
At this rate, fucking Riddle Dane's gonna be my worst feud of the year.
Yeah. And it's not even because their matches are bad, which honestly, I barely even pay attention to their matches because I just want to be done with this. But that's the thing, is that like, it's literally just spinning their wheels so that they don't have to put Riddle in the world title picture right yet.
Yeah, like even the most basic ass feuds that we've rained on in the past, like for example, Jinder Mahal and Randy Orton would develop some kind of, and again, even if it was basic ass, thematic nature, like, you know, the xenophobia, you know, patriotism versus Jinder's anti-USA rhetoric or whatever. This is just so bare bones. I don't even know what this is. Like, if this is just about Dane wanting to legitimize himself at Riddle's expense, I'm sorry, that smacks of laziness. Like, and again, there is no reason for Matt Riddle specifically to be in this story. I think that's what I'm trying to articulate. The way this story is, you could substitute him with anybody, and it wouldn't make a goddamn bit of difference, which is why I said on one of our live reactions when we talked about this, Keith Lee's going nowhere. Both literally, like, I think he's pretty tied down to NXT, and figuratively, and then he's got no direction. Now, yes, he had a great match, which we'll talk about in a little bit, with Dijakovic. But before that, again, like, his most recent loss was to fucking Damian Priest. So if you were having him lose, but he looks the way that he does, have Dane attack him when he's already, like, emotionally and psychologically wounded, like, you know, kind of questioning himself and whatever. And then you do that feud. And it'll make Lee look great because you can do the power spots. And it'll make Dane look great because he's going after, like, the biggest game in the fucking locker room. And then you don't have to sacrifice Riddle and his trajectory to the main event. Like, I feel like this feud has completely halted Riddle's momentum. Yep. Completely. Like, after that match with Velveteen Dream, and I don't even know what he did after the Velveteen stuff. Was it the Killian Dane stuff immediately after? I feel like he might have done something else before that.
I want to say that the Dream match happened in 2018, didn't it?
No, because the latest thing he did before Dane, right, was the match with Roderick Strong, right? And then was that before or after the North American Championship feud? I'm just trying to get Riddle's...
I'm looking... What was TakeOver New York? That was Dream Riddle. Okay, so Dream Riddle was TakeOver New York. And then TakeOver 25 was Dream Roddy. Oh, no, it was Dream Breeze. And Riddle beat Roddy on that show. That's right.
Okay, yeah, okay.
And then, at this most recent one, Riddle did literally nothing. He wasn't even on the show, and we got Dream done strong in the triple threat. Okay.
So you go from...
Or no, that's right. Riddle did have a quick match with Dane, but it wasn't really even a match. It was more like a fight.
Exactly. So just so that my face comprehends this, which I trust my face completely to do, we go from Matt fucking Riddle, one of the hottest prospects on the NXT brand right now, beating a guy that's in a faction that's associated with the world champion. So you're nipping at his heels. And then you completely do a U-turn and you're like, yeah, I know you're nipping on his heels and you're right at that gold, but we're going to have you work this program with the fucking guy that was a gatekeeper in his first run to the world title that you should already be grazing at with your fingertips. That makes no fucking sense to me. That is narratively backwards. You're supposed to build characters up, not pushing them down. Oh my god, dude. Worst feud of the year so far. Really. Like, I hate everything about this. The sooner it ends, the better. And the idea that you even had Killian Dane beat Riddle in a match, which would imply that this now fucking continues. I hate it. I abhor it. I wish I could kill it with fire if I was able to. Awful. Awful.
Why don't you tell us how you really feel?
Yeah, really.
So then we get to the most recent episode, which was basically a fucking takeover, because Io Shirai beat Cammy Fields, aka Holodead, and then Candice stopped her from attacking Cammy. We got the amazing Dominik Dijakovic match versus Keith Lee. Mia Yim confronted William Regal when he was talking on the phone, but he reminded her that, oh yeah, by the way, you're the one that attacked Shayna's lackeys first, so what are you going to do? Like, when they come back at you, you can't just run to me. And then we got Rhea Ripley, and of course, the tag title change.
Yeah, again, just to kind of work backwards, tag title change was great. I'm all about that prophecy. At the expense of the Street Profits. So that was great.
I see what you mean.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I appreciate it, fam. Rhea Ripley interrupting Shayna. I think that was the moment of the week for WWE. I mean, that was a great moment for Rhea. It was short, sweet, and to the point. She understands her character. She understands that her character isn't one that has to cut soliloquies on the mic to get over. At least I hope she understands that. I could very easily be proven wrong in the next few weeks. But just keeping it, that's a saying. I know what you're going to say. You've beaten everybody, but you haven't beaten me, bitch. Perfect. Absolutely perfect. And yeah, I'm totally vibing with that. I think that's going to be a great feud for Shayna. And it's coming at a perfect time for Shayna when she's reestablished herself as a legitimate, incredible champion by beating Mia clean at the last takeover. So that's all great. And then what was the thing before that? Did
Mia.
you say? Oh, Mia. Yeah. Well, yeah. The Mia thing was great.
Lee Dijakovic.
Lee Dijakovic. That was awesome. Oh my god, that was awesome. That was
WWE match of the year so far to me. At least number 2 behind Brian Kofi at Mania.
Yes, dude, because that's a match that made 2 guys in the same match. I think Lee desperately needed that match to get back on track, and I think this helped him do that. And Dijakovic returned from his injury now in a big way by being the one to get the win. He might have even just put himself back in the North American Championship picture with that win. I don't know. I would personally love if this story, and I said this on live reactions, would lead to Monstars being a thing in NXT and then facing O'Reilly and Fish. I've gotten so used to O'Reilly and Strong being tag champions. O'Reilly and Fish defending the tag titles against them at the next takeover. I think that'd be a fucking awesome tag match. So, yeah, I loved it. I thought everything about it was excellent.
How crazy is it that we are literally NXT signing Jeff Cobb away from being able to get Monstars versus Chosen Bros?
Dude, oh my god. Unreal. Absolutely unreal.
I think that's all we've got, right? I think that about covers everything WWE related for the last couple of weeks, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. I think we covered all of our bases, man. So I think that rounds out our first catch-up commentary.
But what do we have next now, John?
Oh God, yeah. Well, I mean, tomorrow's Saturday.
No. This is a TWitWoW. What's our next segment, John?
Oh God, I'm sorry, I blanked because this is our first time doing this, so it's gonna take me some getting used to. High spots and low shots.
Yeah, buddy.
Hell, since you mentioned that Riddle and Dane encapsulates the 2 weeks, I hate to say it, but my low shot's got to be Matt Riddle. He lost to fucking Killian Dane in a match that I feel like should have been a one and done for Riddle, and moving on to the NXT Championship, and the character definitely took a hit. I feel like it was on the fast track to NXT title contention, maybe even being the NXT champion, and now I got to worry about him beating Killian fucking Dane. So yeah, I'm going with Riddle as the low shot.
I think my low shot's going to be the OC because they keep having to save AJ Styles, and now they've got targets on their back. And the thing aiming at those targets is fucking Braun Strowman. And they lost the tag titles to Strowman and Seth. Like, they've had a bad couple weeks.
Yeah, they have. Great pick, man.
All right, what's your high spot?
My high spot is actually going to be Fish and O'Reilly.
So you're sticking in NXT, man.
Yeah, I am. And I'll say this because it's not often that you get an act that makes their case for why they deserve a rematch. Have that case be heard and validated, and then when you get your rematch, you follow through and you win the titles. So Undisputed Era pulled their fucking weight big time in making the prophecy come to fruition. They made their case the 1 week, it was heard, and then they go and they beat the Street Profits in the rematch. Man, they did business, and they did business very well, and they beat them clean. No controversy, no anything. Awesome stuff. So
all right. So I think my high spot. First of all, you all know how this works. Adam Cole was on these shows, so he's obviously my actual high spot. But
yes,
I've got to give out a consolation prize, and I also want to give out an honorary high spot or two. So my first honorary high spot is going to go to Braun Strowman, because over the course of this 2-week period, he won the tag titles, got into contention for the U.S. title, and became the #1 contender for the Universal title, all in the same course of week or two.
Yeah, that's a great peg, man. I fully agree with that.
Another honorary high spot goes to Buddy Murphy, because he beat Daniel Bryan last week and had a standout performance this week against Ali in a losing effort. But my actual high spot goes to my boy, Humberto Carrillo, for being the winner of the Captain's Challenge last week, getting the winning pinfall, the winning elimination on Angel Garza, and translating that, converting that this week into becoming the new #1 contender for the Cruiserweight Championship. Fuck yeah, Humberto, you're the best.
Yay, he is. Great job, friend, and great job, Humberto. So I'd say that rounds out high spots and low shots pretty nicely. So I guess I get to do the outro then?
You sure do, bud.
All right, guys, this has been our first catch-up commentary, and this has been TWitWoW, the best wrestling podcast made for wrestling fans, by wrestling fans, on the web today. I'm the voice of a generation, John. That's my cohort in commentary, Ashton. Guys, be sure to like the video if you haven't. The more likes you leave, the more likely we are to be the top search result for WWE-related content on YouTube. Let's fuck that algorithm. Also, be sure to click the subscribe button so that you can follow all of our content. Click the bell icon for notifications, because it seems like every YouTuber says that now, and it genuinely helps. I should know. I'm getting notifications from many people that I'm subscribed to. And you guys already know all the stuff to go to, because it's on our backgrounds now, and it's in the description box. So check out all the TWitWoW-related platforms. And, yeah, we will see you again for Royal Quest live reactions. I am so fucking hyped for that show. I know we didn't do a preview for that show, but my hype for that show is at like a fucking 9, maybe even a 9.5. Really loving the big championship matches they've got for that between ZSJ versus Tanahashi, Ishii versus Kenta, which should be insane, and Suzuki versus Okada, and they're so good together, and I know it probably won't happen, but I'm going to be rooting for Suzuki to be world champion so hard. So yeah, it's going to be great. We go live with that at 4, and then immediately after that, beginning at 7:30, will be our live reactions to AEW All Out, which we'll see if they go all out and actually show themselves to be a real wrestling company and not a breakfast club. Thanks again to Mark Schoeneman. So that begins at 7:30 Eastern time, depending on if you want to save your energy for that live reaction as opposed to the other. And for the diehards, you know when to show up for both. So we'll see you then. And until then, I'm going to hand it over to Ashton to take us home. Or no. Damn it. Yeah, I'm sorry. It's been so long since I've done outros. I'm taking us home, and I just scared off the road, and we're probably all crashed and dead, and there's no OnStar, and it's horrible. But we will see you then, so tune in, and whatever's left of you after that horrible accident, peace out.